Hello and welcome to the McTaggart Attack Podcast. I'm Kevin McTaggart. Thank you so much for watching and or listening to the podcast today. I appreciate it. Today's episode is coming out on December 31st, 2020. So, of course, what am I going to do is a year in review for 2020. Everything that happened to me, for the most part. I may have forgotten some stuff that I'm sort of remembering now, but I'm not going to mention it because I think I covered all the major stuff that happened to me in 2020 with stand-up comedy, with podcasting, with life in general. So I hope you enjoy my recap, my year in review of 2020. Yes, I know it sucked, but I still did a year in review because I need the podcast content. Just like the next episode that'll come out tomorrow will be about 2021. So buckle up and give it a listen, and hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. All right, let's end 2020, right? Let's wrap up the year of 2020. I was thinking about how to how do we wrap up 2020? How do we, what's the best way to do that? And I was just thinking I would do it like month by month. How it went for me January through December. So that's how we're gonna do it. That's January. January started fine. It was great. It was good. What happened in January? I don't really remember what happened in January. I was still doing comedy shows. I was still going out every weekend doing comedy shows, mostly over in Middlebury. I know I was supposed to do one in Boston that got postponed for the same reason that it got postponed a few months before that, but that actually might have been February. No, it was January that it was supposed to happen originally, but then it got rescheduled to February, or I don't know. But anyway, I think January started out okay. I know I was in the midst of running comedy shows at the Engine Room in White River Junction. I had never produced shows before, so I was excited that it was the second show happened on, I think it was January 5th or something, and we had a huge crowd for that show. We had a huge crowd for the December show, which was the first one that I took over, so I was very excited about that. I forgot what I was doing with the podcast at that point. I think I was still doing a couple episodes a week, but I think I was thinking about cutting down, because I know that I was sort of thinking about what to do with my comedy career, because I was in a flux. I didn't really know what to do. I wanted to take it to the next level, but I didn't know what that next level was. And I think I was still thinking about stuff like that in January. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that January was typical January. It was fucking cold at some point, I'm sure. I know I was dealing with a lot of anxiety issues. And I really didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't really like my work situation at the time. And I still don't, but I feel a lot better about it now. But we'll get to that. And then, let's see. What happened in February? Well, February was interesting because I had my golf trip in February, and we were supposed to have our February comedy show, but that was going to go on while I was away on my golf trip, because I had my friend Peter Pardo, who I was partners with on the comedy show at the Engine Room. And then there was a blizzard coming. So I'm in Myrtle Beach, and we made the decision not to do the show that night, which is good because we got like a shitload of snow, if I remember correctly. We usually get a huge blizzard every time we go to Myrtle Beach, because that's just the way that it works out. So that's what happened in February. We actually rescheduled the February comedy show a week later, to where I was able to be there for it. But we didn't get a very good crowd that night because I think there was still weather that night. And so I think we only got I want to say maybe 24 people. So it wasn't that good of a crowd, but there was bad things going on because it had been rescheduled and people only knew about it for like a week or so. And so, yeah. And I think I won Comedy Thunderdome in February for the second time. So that was good. And then I actually did perform in Boston for the first time ever in Cambridge. I know that doesn't count as Boston, but fuck you, it's the closest I've gotten so far. So I performed in Anthony Mass's show where he gives a belt to the winner. It was a comedy contest and I didn't win. Because I never win. It's fine. But, and that was at the end of February. And I think I had started doing the podcast once a week at that point, but I made them much longer episodes because I just combined stuff together. I combined my podcast with What's Pissing You Off Wednesday and put them together. I did that for 3 or 4 episodes. And I put it out just once a week on Wednesdays or something like that. And it was working out, I think, pretty well. And I did that into March, I believe. But the comedy was fine. The podcasting was fine. Personal was still dealing with anxiety issues. And that was the month where I think I actually might have been at the end of January, but end of February. Actually, it was at the end of February where I did that. I'm going all over the place here. Is that I engaged in the EAP at where I work, at the hospital I work at, the Employee Assistance Program, and met with a counselor. Just one time, just met with an hour, and she gave some wonderful advice. Because I've been into meditation since 2015. I started by reading the 10% Happier book, and she actually suggested the 10% Happier app. So I'm like, oh hey, the book was so helpful, let me try the app. And the app works great. Oh my god. If you want to get into meditation, I recommend you sign up for the 10% Happier app. Highly recommend it. Because meditation's helped me out a lot, especially with anxiety issues. Because it turns out I had anxiety, I just didn't know what it was. And let's see, that was February. I had a job interview for a job I didn't get. I kind of wanted it because I think it was more money. But I didn't get it, so it's fine. And then March. March is when the shit hit the fan, I think. Is when the corona hit the fan. That happened in March. And so yeah. I'll start it with the Engine Room Comedy Show. We did it it was supposed to be March 5th. But the owner had an event that was going to happen that day. So it was March 12th, my mom's birthday, instead. And then a friend of mine was going to have a comedy show at the same venue a week later. But on March 5th, or March 4th, I think, actually, they had a private event at the Engine Room. And that's when coronavirus showed up in the Upper Valley. Because there was a guy or a person who went to the doctor, was told they had coronavirus, was told that they had to, stay away from people. They had to, what the hell is the word? I can't think of the damn word right now. What's the damn word when you have to like stay away from people? Quarantine. They had to quarantine, but they didn't. So they went to this event, and people got sick, got people infected. They had to close down the engine room and clean it down. And I had a show the next week, and like I was talking to the owner, and he was excited because like we're gonna clean it up, and we're gonna have it back, and we're gonna have a shitload of people there. I'm like, that's a great idea. Had our worst crowd, because by March 12th, coronavirus had really hit the U.S. and they were already shutting down sporting events and locking places down. So we didn't have a big crowd at all. So we ultimately decided to just stop doing the shows. Like, we canceled the April show. And then I just didn't talk to him after that, I don't think. I don't think I even reached out, because we didn't do anything. I never talked to him again about it, I don't think. I think I went to the restaurant that he owns, and we didn't really talk about it, because we already knew. We didn't have to talk to each other to know that we wouldn't be able to do the comedy shows at the Engine Room anymore. And turns out he's actually selling the Engine Room anyway, so comedy shows aren't gonna fucking happen. I mean, not by me there. I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure. So yeah, that was a pain in the ass. And so like, stand-up comedy for me was done. I've done some Zoom shows since then. And I've done my podcast. My podcast, as you know, if you're listening to this, but if you're listening to it for the first time, welcome. And if you're liking this episode, please hit the like button if you're watching it. Before the pandemic, I was doing one episode a week. Come mid-March, I started doing a podcast episode every day because I couldn't do stand-up comedy anymore, so I started doing the podcast every damn day. And it's the one thing that's like kept me sane throughout all of this, because it's given me something to do every day. I don't know what the podcast will be like in the future, but for now, it's going to continue to be Monday through Friday, because why not? And it'll still be on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. So I kind of expanded a couple months there. And a bunch of other things have happened. What's happened to me? I don't know. I've still like met people. I've become friends with people that I know only online. I've yet to meet them in person, but I think sometime next year I probably will. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to is the Unconventional Leaders podcast, and I've met Heather Parody, and we're friends, and it would be nice to actually meet her in person at some point. And but yeah, it's been good. I've met people. I've done some online courses throughout the pandemic. You know how I started with January, then February, and then like March it's still March, right? It's still the month of March right now, isn't it? What do you mean it's December? I don't understand. But yeah, I've taken some online classes. I did the comedy business school, which answered a lot of the questions I had about taking my comedy to the next level. And I've bought some other classes that I've started but wasn't really that impressed with. I don't want to name them by names because I'm trying to be positive here. So yeah, the comedy business school class is the best one I took, I think. That really helped me open my eyes as to where to take my comedy career. I just have to get off my ass and do it. I'm doing my podcast every damn day, so maybe I can do something out of the podcast. what else has happened to me? I mean, there have been current events that have occurred. Like, there was the George Floyd situation and the people being more behind Black Lives Matter than they ever were before, which is great. There was a presidential election that Donald Trump lost. He lost. Legally. He legally lost that election. If you didn't think he lost that election, you're a fucking idiot. But I'm trying to be positive here. Anyway. But yeah, it did get depressing for me at some point this year. It did get depressing at times. But I think I've done a very good job of looking at it positively and looking at it as a time to improve myself. It's all just a big sign that things need to change with me. Anyway, one thing that also happened was I don't drink as much as I used to. And now I think I've had 2 beers since the pandemic started in March, and it's now December. And one thing that's helped with that is, lockdowns. They encourage you not to go out to bars and stuff like that, which is fine with me. But my 2 favorite bars were closed for good. Salt Hill Pub in Hanover and Margaritas in Lebanon. So can't go to those anymore because they don't exist. Something has opened up in Margaritas' place, but I don't plan to go there anytime soon. Why? Because lockdown. But I think this year has been a pretty good year. I mean, it's been an awful year because I've been at home most of the time, which sucks, but I really want to do stand-up comedy again. I can't wait to do that again, and it's going to happen. I'm looking forward to doing stand-up comedy again sometime next year. I'm going to try to get that vaccine as soon as fucking possible. But I'm not talking about 2021 yet. I'm going to talk about 2021 in tomorrow's episode. But I wanted to talk about 2020 in this one and everything that's happened to me in 2020 with comedy and the podcast and life in general. But I have plans for 2021, but like I said, I'm going to talk about that in tomorrow's episode. But yeah, 2020 has absolutely sucked. And it's been hard on everybody. And I've tried really hard to learn something from it or improve myself from it. And I think I am. I feel like I am a better person now than when the year started, because I've handled my anxiety a lot better than I did from when the year started. And things have changed. Like, I work from home now, which is great. Love working from home. And I don't drink that much anymore, so that's great too. Like, I intend to keep that up. I have too many important things that I want to do in my life to where I don't need to binge drink anymore. That's for damn sure. And no, the year has sucked, but I think I've made good use of the time that I've had this year to make myself better and to prepare myself for how much butt I'm gonna kick in 2021. So there, I think, yeah, I feel good now after venting about all that, and I think I covered everything that I got off my chest about 2020. So, all right, let's get to the end credits now. Hey, thank you so much for watching and or listening to the podcast today. I really appreciate it. If you watched it on YouTube, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and like the video. And if you listen to it on an audio podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to the podcast. And that's the bottom line if you smell what the McTaggart Attack Podcast is cooking.